And welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Weekly Show, a podcast brought to you by the Livingston Parish News. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news, and this is From the Cheap Seats. It's where we sit down with this gentleman, who I'm going to let introduce himself real quick here in a second, and we talk about what's going on in Livingston Parish sports. So good morning, sir.
Good morning. This is Rob DeArmond, sports editor with the Livingston Parish News.
Today we got plenty to talk about, so let's get to it. First and foremost, a special result, one you've never seen before, from the parish cross country meet on the boys' side. So I'm just going to let you cover those results. Lots going on there at the annual parish cross country meet.
Yeah, switched it up to North Park this year with Denham hosting, and Walker's boys pulled the perfect score, which I've never seen it personally. Just it's one of those things that when that happens, for folks who aren't familiar, Walker took the top 5 places in the boys race. Jacob Kennedy repeated as the individual champion. He had a time of 16:06.26. Kind of pulled away there at the halfway point. Let's see. Peyton Levy was second. Lawson Bourne third, Jordan Robinson fourth, and Carson Boyer fifth. It was pretty cool to watch those guys kind of, come across in that group, and it just kind of, as it sunk in, I remember asking Jacob, as he goes, 15, it's a pretty good number, but just to have never seen that before. I will run through the team standings here. I've got the results here, so if you're here shuffling, that's what that is. Walker in first place with 15 points, like I said. Live Oak second with 49, Albany 92, and Denham Springs 94. So that rounds out your boys' race there. On the girls' side, Caden Boudreau from Albany won her third straight individual championship. Avery Guidry from Walker was second. Ava Patero from Walker's third. Sylvia White from Live Oak was fourth. She was also named the Student of the Year for Live Oak that day, too. So it was a big day for Sylvia. And Tamara Fonseca from Walker took fifth. So Albany had a pair. Stormy Williams in sixth, and Morgan Crane in seventh. And then when you get to the team standings here, you'll see what happens. Walker winds up winning it with 32. Denham Springs with 57. Albany 58, and Live Oak at 79. You see that 1 point difference there between Denham Springs and Albany. Albany had a runner get injured on the course, which might have given them that extra point to bump it up. But that's it was just a competitive race. I think when Caden gets out there and runs, she kind of sets the pace by herself. So it's pretty much Avery and Ava kind of working for second place there. But they did all of the races out there at North Park. Your elementary, your junior high, everybody raced that day. So they got done around 6:30 in the evening. It's good day of racing there. So
Sure, and moving it to a new venue, which is interesting. North Park, very pretty. Of course, Sidney Hutchinson is as well.
Yes,
but
yes.
It's nice to have options.
It was a different course setup too. I think the last meet that I went out a couple of years ago, one of the bridge was out across the ditch right there, so they had to kind of change a little bit. So the bridge was back, so the bridge was actually part of the course.
Okay.
So you had to come over the bridge. A lot of runners coming. So try to stay off the bridge while you can.
Sure. So going into volleyball, which is pretty much at the end of their season.
We have hit the last week of the regular season here. So.
Right. So we'll be expecting playoff pairings here pretty soon, but we've kind of got an idea about where some of these teams are going to land. So tell us about what they're wrapping up their regular seasons with, and where we kind of see them landing.
The pairings will be released Monday, and right now these are pairings as of earlier in this week, so they're not going to take into account any matches that were played, yesterday, which I went to Springfield and Doyle, and Springfield got a sweep there over Doyle. Really competitive match. And both coaches right now, it's gearing up for playoff time, and they're kind of, seeing, their teams kind of come into shape or around into shape at this point, which is what you want to see. But right now we're looking in Division One. Like I said, this is as of Monday, according to the Athletic Association website. In Division One, Denham Springs is sitting at number 24, Walker at number 29, Live Oak at number 33. So they're right there. And in Division Four, Springfield's number 11 and Doyle's at number 15. So it's looking like they're in really good shape there. So it's going to come down to Doyle is actually finished. That was their last match of the season. But for these other teams, you have some matches still here and on the schedule. Today, Denham Springs is going to be at Dutchtown. Live Oak is at Hammond, and East Ascension is at Walker. On Thursday, Zachary's at Denham, Santa Ma's at Live Oak, St. Michael at Springfield, which is big for them. I was talking to Coach Hebert last night, and she said if they can get 1 or 2 spots up, it dramatically changes their draw there. So that's a huge one for them. And then Walker is at West Feliciano on Thursday to kind of wrap it up. So all of these matches right now for these teams are, they're really important in terms of, okay, where are we going to wind up? When it all comes down, when it all shakes out on Monday, we'll find out.
Sure. Going to be interesting to see where those teams finally land. Still some opportunity to change their seeding.
Yeah, it's however it goes, it's, up, down in those, and you just don't know sometimes how much you're going to move with a win or a loss, depending on what other people do too. So,
sure.
Best thing to do is just win.
Right.
Trying to make it easy.
Winning changes the narrative. Moving into football, let's see. We are in week 9.
Crazy.
So just 2 weeks left, this week and next. Some of these teams dipping their toes into that, these 5A teams dipping their toes into that new district with a mixed bag of results.
Yeah.
So let's start with Denham.
Denham is coming off a 17-7 loss to East Ascension. They were up 7-3 in that ball game. And EA scored twice in like the last 2 minutes. They put together a really long drive that was aided by a couple of penalties on Denham Springs, and then they got a pick 6 to kind of pull away late in that. It's like talked to Coach Beard. He said, you got to play for 48 minutes. We played for about 46. And that's what happened. But at the same time, he said we shouldn't have been in that situation in the first place. They'll go back to they missed 2 field goals and had a bad snap on another one. He said, so that's, you can look at that stuff and it's on us. It's not anything that anybody else did. He said, give EA credit for what, being a great team, but it's things that they need to do. It's kind of, and it, in talking to him, it was something he said Saturday morning that I really didn't put. He said, we need to figure out who we are. And so when I met with him earlier this week, I said, is it really a good thing in week 9 to be still trying to figure out who you are? And he said, he kind of, and to me, this kind of sums up where they are at their season. He's like, okay, it's 4th and 1 or 4th and short. What are we going to do? And that kind of sums up where the season is right now. He said, we pretty much locked up the playoffs. So now it's, okay, how do we respond in these 2 weeks? How do we find that identity and figure out who we are going into the playoffs?
Sure. So let's head north and let's talk about Live Oak.
Let's see. Walker played Live Oak last week. Walker won 33-14. I was able to talk to Coach Westmoreland this morning. I think the biggest thing for them, they're coming out of that game with some injuries, so they're going to have to shake some things up, move some kids around, and try to figure out what's going on. At the same time, you realize they're playing a bunch of sophomores, a bunch of young kids, and it's for them right now. It's about kind of making sure they get their feet underneath them and try to figure out what they're doing ahead of them. So it's you're looking at now, but you're also looking at the future and what that may hold for them, and they're going to be hosting EA on Friday, which that's that challenge there that you look at what they were able to do against Denham, and he said just just a solid team they've got to play, and if you guys have followed any of the teams in the district, you know that the challenge that's ahead for every team that plays.
Sure. Like we said, kind of mixed results, dipping their toes into the end. Of course, Always a challenge when those teams play intra-parish. Let's go to Walker.
Yeah, like I said, Walker beats Live Oak 33-14. I think the big thing here is Walker started T.J. Silva quarterback. They start out with Warren Young on the first play at quarterback, and then T.J. comes in, ran a little a little trick play, if you will, on that first play. They hit a long pass on the first play, and then TJ came in, kind of got it. Looked like they found a little spark there in the first half, and really did well with their pass game. And Kedrick Brown scores 3 different ways for him in that game. He's got a rushing TD to start him off. He had a punt return for a touchdown and a fumble recovery for a touchdown. So anytime you can get that, gives you a little spark, of course. And Walker will be they'll be hosting Santa Ma. So it's kind of one of those things where you're trying to keep that momentum going. And like Coach Mahaffey said, that Santa Ma's in the same boat they are. They're just trying to load up those wins, and he said we'd be in much better shape if we catch a win at this point going into that last week of the season to kind of bolster ourselves. But he said Santa Ma's in that same spot, so everybody's kind of clawing for that last little couple weeks to see where you're going to wind up.
Let's move over to Albany.
Albany coming off a 34-2 loss to A-Meet is one of those things where talking to Coach Ligori yesterday, he said, kids played well. It's just one of those things where A-Meet hit a bunch of big plays. I think Albany gets their safety on a holding call in the end zone. So it's just one of those things where you got to kind of bounce back. They'll be hosting Sumner, which is one of those games that when you looked at the schedule, he kind of circled off and said, hey, this is a game right here that it's kind of going to tell us, where it could kind of lead us for the postseason. And they, schematically on offense, Sumner runs that wing T scheme just like Albany does. And Coach Ligori said, what they do, they don't do a whole lot, but what they do it really well. Defensively is going to be the challenge there is Sumner runs a 3-3 stack defense, which he said we haven't seen that before. So we got to take that extra time to figure out what we need to do in terms of blocking and things like that. So that's what you have to learn. But this is a big one for them in terms of trying to determine what's going to happen down the road here.
Moving south to Springfield.
Springfield lost 57-0 to St. Helena. Like talked to Coach Surpass, it's one of those things where as well as they started out, you've got that veteran presence. Win your first 3 games, and he said now we're you look out on the field, and I've got 5 freshmen out on the field. So you're kind of just kind of looking at it, trying to get the kids to kind of grow up, figure out what's going on, and at the same time, like he said, St. Helena, he said we just couldn't get off the field, couldn't get anything going offensively. He said they had one good drive in the third quarter. I think get down in the St. Helena territory and then threw an interception. So he said that's the kind of night that we had. But he said at the same time, I don't think we're going to play a team like St. Helena that has the speed and the athletes that they do, and that's just one of those things that kind of caught up with them. They'll be traveling to Pope John Paul, which he said matchup wise, looking at their offense, kind of a ground and pound deal. He said that kind of matches up more to where we want to be. So, they're hopeful on both sides of the ball that they can take advantage of some things to kind of get back on track here.
Yeah. And, with that smaller district, not a whole lot of chances, got to make the most of each individual game for Springfield, because that the district's kind of been, I don't want to call it decimated. That's not the word. It's just been separated.
It's just when they did that redistricting, you look at it and you say you've only got 3 chances here, and your district games are just a handful. So they're looking at this one, and then they'll have St. Thomas, I think, next week at home, I believe. And those are it's opportunities for them, and just trying to take advantage and get things back on track for them. It's just been one of those seasons between injuries and illness, and actually, that we you haven't seen many of those video interviews from Coach Surpass and I, because that was the first time I think we actually met face to face in 3 weeks, because I would call them and he'd go, no, stay,
yeah,
don't come over, just on the off chance that I've still got somebody sick. So
always a struggle at that 2A level.
Yeah, every
Always gotta
time, and
deal
it's
with
just it's and it's I think it's kind of hitting Live Oak too with the injury situation. And it's just going to be a matter of moving some kids around, maybe some spots they might not be used to playing, and that's kind of what you got to do,
Yep. So, alrighty, sir. Well, we appreciate you running through the athletics as they're going on, as we've discussed. Cross country coming to the end here, football coming to the end, and volleyball basically at the end. So, going to be a lot of drama going on over the
Yep.
next 2 weeks. If you'll introduce yourself, please.
Sure, this is Rob DeArmond, sports editor with the Livingston Parish News.
And my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys out there for joining us for From the Cheap Seats. This is where I sit down with Rob here, and we talk about what's going on in athletics in Livingston Parish. Please remember the news is on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays. That's $7 a month to get that in your mailbox. We're also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you next time.